Yes, everybody, welcome back in the building. I just thought we would check in, speak a little bit about Florian Wirtz because there's been an update this morning from Ornstein, David Ornstein, that we know is reliable. And I just wanted us to come together because I saw a lot of comments yesterday about, first off, the second bid that was rejected, right? We put in a bid of around 130 million euros. That was rejected by Bayer Leverkusen. They want a fee closer to 150 million euros, and there's also discussions about a player potentially being involved in the deal, although I think that's probably less likely. I think it'll probably just have to be a fee, and if it is going to be a fee, it's going to be a record-breaking fee. But like I said, I still believe this deal gets over the line. You know, I know a lot of you guys, a lot of people are worried and they're saying, is he even worth it at that price, this and that? But the reason why I personally think he's definitely worth it at that price is because you look at the other players that are available in the market. And again, this is what I mean. I think it's way too easy to say, oh, for that money, we could just get Alexander Isak. Oh, for that money, we could just get Julian Alvarez. But that's not the reality of an actual market. A player has to be available, you know? And those two players, for example, I know the clubs don't want to sell and the players are happy at their clubs. So it just can't happen. The Florian Wirtz one is a real opportunity in the market. Obviously, he still costs a lot of money, but he's an elite player, one of the best in the world. They're rarely available, but he's set to leave Leverkusen this summer, and he wants to join Liverpool. So that's why it is such a unique opportunity. And the reason why I think he's worth it is because, again, guys, we talk about if it's not him, then who is it going to be? Mention names, guys, mention me names, because, again, I think it's so easy to just go out there and say, oh, with that money, like I said, we just get an Isak or we just get a this, but that's not how it actually works. The player has to be willing to come and the club has to be willing to sell. And that isn't always the case. And again, how many elite players are in that position this summer? I don't see any others apart from Vurtz. And he would come in and be a game changer like that. In a second, he would be a game changer. Yo, FC FIFA, nice to see you in the building. I see Charlotte's in the building too. Nice to see you. Who says, do we need a backup defensive mid if Grav, Endo, Dom, Maka, and Vurtz? They're all attacking besides Grav and Endo. Charlotte, I think that all depends on what Slot decides on Stefan Bajcetic, because I think he has such a high ceiling. There's going to be a lot of interest for him this summer. You know, we know Barca wanted him last summer. He is such a talent. And I do think he actually suits the way we play. I'd put him in a similar bracket in like a Gravenberg, where I think he's press resistant. He's very good on the ball. And I think that's more of the type of midfielder that suits Slot compared to a destroyer type like Fabinho. You know, we've seen Gravenberg clearly shining in that system, and he's most definitely not that type of midfielder that's going to put in crunching tackles. He's more of a midfielder that glides on the pitch, very good on the ball, picks up intelligent positions, and I think Stefan Bajcetic can be that player. Now, the question is, does his mentality fit Slot's way of playing? What are things like behind the scenes? That only time will tell. But my personal prediction, Charlotte, is it's going to be very dependent on Stefan Bajcetic. Is he ready for that step up? Is he ready for Liverpool? Does he suit Slot's system? And I think if he doesn't, then I see us selling him this summer, because I'll bet you there'll be a whole lot of clubs interested, and I don't see us keeping him around again for more loans if Slot just doesn't see it for him right now. You know, I think Slot is that type of manager where if he trusts a young player or any player by you know, he's going to be all in on them. But if he doesn't, I don't think he's the type to say, we'll see in a few years, let's keep them around and loan them and stuff. Just like Ben Doak, I could see him leaving on a permanent this summer, even if he's a top talent. I could see him leaving too, because again, Slot just doesn't see a way to fit him in right now, or doesn't see him fitting in maybe in a year's time. So we'll have to see. But I definitely think defensive mid is not our priority. Let's put it that way. I think before then, we want to get this Vurtz deal done. We want to look at another attacker who can play more of a striker role, and then a center back for sure. You know, there's a chance Kwanzaa leaves this summer, and Ibu Konate's future still hasn't been sorted. So definitely that's another one, you know. Yo, Shakri, nice to see you in the building. What's good? Would you rather take... I was just talking about it. I'm not happy. Hash brown, impossible. Isak or Alvarez happen. So I'm not even going to be discussing that. For me, it's almost like saying, Like you can throw in Haaland into that mix. No way he leaves City for Liverpool after the contract he signed. Like there's just no way. For example, Zeremri, the name that's being mentioned by the Liverpool fella, 100%. That's a player that could be available in the market because he barely got playing time at PSG and he's been rumored to potentially leave the club. You have to be kind of realistic because otherwise, like what? Am I just going to start saying, oh, I want Yamal this summer or I want this and that? Like that's just not how the markets work, And same with Doué, Audacity. There's no way Desiré Doué is leaving PSG. I don't care if we bid 150 million. He's not leaving PSG, because he's happy. He's just won the Champions League and gone man of the match in that final. And they've won every trophy possible, PSG. And so the future's looking very bright. But also they've just signed him from Rennes last summer. So it's another one of those scenarios where people are saying, let's sign him, let's sign that. Not going to be possible in the market. You have to be somewhat realistic. Xavi Simons, on the other hand, Nazir, seems like a player that could be a possibility this summer. Same with Rodrigo. I wouldn't have said that last summer, but it seems like Rodrigo might want to move on from Real Madrid. So, like those type of names, I think we should be willing to discuss and we can have conversations. But this is just what I haven't really liked about what people are saying around Florian Wirtz. I saw so many people saying, oh, for that price, he's no longer worth it. But again, it's just like anything in life. For me, it's not just football. How often do you hear people have an opinion on something, and then you're like, okay, so what's the next best alternative? And then they have no best next alternative. You know what I mean? It's like you cannot compare Florian Wirtz to Ryan Cherki. Listen, I'm French. I think he's an unbelievable talent, but you cannot compare them. Like there's no way you can compare Ryan Cherki to a Florian Wirtz. I'm sorry. Like there's levels, and there's a reason why he costs that much. Same with Olise, not going to be available this summer. Bayern just don't want to sell, and he's going to be happy to stay, So this is what I mean. Like we have to, if we start mentioning names as alternatives to Florian Wirtz, then give me realistic names, And some of you I saw mention Florian Wirtz, Ryan Cherki, right? But for me, he's not comparable to a Florian Wirtz. He isn't comparable, So I don't really understand all the people that are saying, oh, if he's really going to cost that much money, he's just not worth it. But what you guys have to understand is our squad is already incredibly strong, right? We won the Premier League by quite a distance, right? We won it in April, and we would have gotten a lot more points if we had been pushed till the end, right? We clearly cared a lot less towards the end of the season, and rightfully so, because it didn't matter. But guys, like this summer, we were only going to bring in players that were going to elevate us to another level, truly elevate us to another level. And therefore, guys, we have to go for players that are going to be within that bracket, because I don't think Slot is interested in a project player right now. The squad is in such an incredible world-class place that we are not going to bring in someone who's like this project player who we need to give a few years to, this and that. I don't see that being the case. I think that's a big difference between where the football club is at now compared to maybe some of those Klopp years where we were willing to kind of go towards a player that might need a few years to settle. I think the difference here, and a big part of that too, is I think the fact that Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah have 2 years left. They have 2 years where they're still going to be at the top of their game. I don't think that we're going to not take advantage of that, if that makes sense. Yo, Questionable 11 LFC, nice to see you in the building. Big up. Which deal do you think will go through first, Kirkez or Vurtz? I think we're going to be pushing for Vurtz first, because the deal is so difficult to get over the line. The fact that it is so much money, and the fact that, of course, Leverkusen is playing hard to get. This is another thing too. People are saying, oh, Leverkusen are being greedy, this and that. Bro, no. Like, you have to be able to put yourself in the situation of the other team as well. Like, I can't believe people that think like Leverkusen are crazy for the way they're negotiating right now. Like, this is a generational talent. This is an elite player. We're talking about a player who just turned 22, who got Bundesliga Player of the Year 2 seasons in a row. Like, of course Leverkusen are going to try to get as much money from him as possible. It's not like players like that come around often. You know what I mean? And it's true. Apparently they signed him for under 500,000 from Cologne. So that's going to be one of the best profits ever made, like, in the history of the transfer market. But again, how often will Florian Wirtz come around for a club like Leverkusen? Not often. So of course they're playing hard to get. Of course, they're gonna try to get every million possible. Like we would want the same if it was us selling Coutinho to Barcelona. You know what I mean? We'd be playing hard to get. So I also don't understand that. Like this is normal that the negotiations are going on like this. It's absolutely normal, and that's why for me, I haven't been worried. I haven't been worried just because it's not comparable to any situation in the past in terms of us going for a big time player. And I mean big money moves because, like I said, he's made it very clear that he wants to join Liverpool. And you can hear every German player that's come out and been asked about it have said, like, yeah, he's chosen Liverpool. It's very clear to see. Like, they've openly said it. That Bayern, and even the Bayern CEO, I think, openly said that, you know, he rejected the club. So all that's in the open. You know what I mean? And that's very different to what's happened in the past. Jalapeno, nice to see you in the building as well, who says, what do you think of maybe putting Danz on our bench next season? I would love that, Jalapeno. I'm a huge fan of Jadon Danz. But the only thing is it seems like Sunderland, who obviously got promoted now to the Premier League, are interested in taking him on loan. And if they can guarantee him getting a lot of minutes, then I'm more in favor of him going out on loan and getting proper football under his belt rather than just being a bench player for us, because I think his ceiling is incredibly high. Being a natural finisher is something that's difficult. As we're seeing with Darwin, he's not a natural finisher. I would say Jadon Danz is a natural finisher. You could just see it, you know? So personally, huge fan, Jalapeno, I agree. If there's no like really decent clubs that would take him on loan and play him regularly, then I agree, put him on the bench. But I'm seeing rumors that Sunderland really want him. And like I said, if he can get regular Premier League minutes, that would be the best thing for his development. So we got to keep a close eye on that as well. Champion says, is it just me who thinks 130 to 150 million is too much for Vurtz? Like, I think using that money for 3 players would be better. Champion, the thing is about that, like I was saying, our squad is in such a good place right now that I think Slot and our recruitment team, we're only looking for players that are going to elevate us to that next level. If you're talking about a player on the level of, for example, a Xavi Simons, a good player, right? But he hasn't shown that he can be that consistent at an elite level. So if you're talking about a a Xavi Simons type level, then why not just give development time to someone like Harvey Elliott? You know what I mean? Who clearly has a high ceiling, just like Xavi Simons has a high ceiling. I think there's levels in that sense, you know? And I don't see us spending 80 million on a player that we're not convinced is going to come in and, like I said, going to elevate us to the next level. And I think Wirtz is a player who they're convinced is going to come in and elevate us like that. So that's why I think the reason why many of us maybe are confused why we'd spend that much on one player is the fact that our squad is already in such a good place that we don't see the need to buy 3 to 4 players who are, again, more project players who we already have in the team now. Like I said, a Harvey Elliott type player who is more of a project player. But then we might as well just give Harvey Elliott a chance, you know? So that's why I think we see this Wirtz deal as a completely different type of deal to what we've kind of looked for in the past. Just like Caicedo, I think a Caicedo type player, the reason we were willing to spend so much is because he's so young and he's already at that level where he would come in and just dominate. And to be fair, look, Chelsea haven't been good last season, but Caicedo was outstanding. To be an outstanding player in a pretty bad team shows that Caicedo was always a top quality player. You know what I mean? And that's where I think they see Wirtz as that type of player. You know what I mean? Absolutely, I think they see him as that type of player. And that's why I think you can't really compare him, like I said, to the likes of Xavi Simons. I don't think you can compare them. Not saying again that he's not talented, but like I just said, I think Harvey Elliott is also very talented, you know? Yeah, Uchiwa, I agree too. If Lucho ends up leaving, I could see us going for Rodrigo. Absolutely. Especially because Rodrigo is a versatile attacker, just like Lucho is a versatile attacker. So I can definitely see that happening if Lucho ends up leaving. I agree. I completely agree. When Vurtz will come in, where will Maka play? I think, again, with the amount of games we have, I think there's I think these four midfielders who should be starting almost every game will get tons of playing time. Gravenberch, Maka, Soboslai, Wirtz. I think, again, with the amount of games we're playing, they're all going to play a major part in next season. So I don't think it's too much of a worry. Where will certain player play? Quality players, you find a way to put them into the team. Seriously. Just like Maka, no matter where we've played him, he's performed for us because I would say he's absolutely incredible. George has thoughts on Vurtz wearing the number 10 shirt. Yeah, apparently Vurtz wants the number 10 shirt. I think the only way he would have wanted that 10 shirt is if he would have been made aware that Maka is okay to give it up and take another great number in the team. I don't think Vurtz would be the type, from everything I've heard about his personality, to say, oh, I'm only going to join Liverpool if I get the number 10 shirt. What I think probably happened is when we were trying to convince Vurtz, like I said, we heard already reports that one of the key factors in him choosing Liverpool over Bayern was that he was going to be a pivotal part of our team. He's going to be given that 10 role in the team. I think as part of that, we probably would have told him you can have the 10 shirt as well, because we've spoken to Maka already and he's okay to give you the 10 shirt if he gets another great number, like number 6 or something like that, So I definitely am not worried about that. That's such a minor thing. It's such a minor thing because, yeah, like I said, I'm sure Maka, he's the type of player that's not going to be that fussed. So long as he can get another important squad number, which I know he will be, then we can give Wirtz the number 10. I definitely don't think that's a problem whatsoever. Manavjit, thank you very much for the super chat, who says, see his stats against big teams, no way 150 million. No way 150 million. Yeah, but imagine how much we'd elevate his game if he played in a midfield 3, for example, with Gravenberch and Maka the way they've looked this season. So, nah, I'm not too fussed about the fee, like I said, because we never are willing to spend that much usually, and if we are, it truly means we see him as an absolute game changer type player. So, nah, I'm not worried about the fee. Ben Churna says, I'm a United fan, but love your videos. Thank you. Where do you think Man United will finish the season? Too early to say. It all depends on the window, but I think you'll finish higher than most people think, because it seems like you're going to have a big summer. It seems like Mbuemo is going to be joining you. Obviously, you've already confirmed Cunha, so it seems like you're going to have a big summer, and you'll be a completely different team next season. So it's impossible to kind of predict where you'll be. But I think you can be optimistic, because obviously it can't get much worse than this season. So you can only really improve in a significant way, I think, at least. What do you think of Malik Fofana? He seems like an incredible talent from what I've seen. So if, again, our recruitment team thinks he can take that step up, then I'd be all for it. I'd be all for it. Shout out to you, Breen Maguire. Thank you very much for your kind message. You're in Mallorca right now. Damn, Tubby, you're living it up over there. Hope we get Vurtz. Absolutely, I hope we get Vurtz. Lyomu, I can see Dom potentially playing in the false 9 next season. Absolutely, I could see that happening. But I think he has a few ideas up his sleeve. And I think this season, again, from what I've seen from Arne Slot, I don't think it's similar to kind of the Jurgen Klopp days where we played that 4-3-3 system, and it was so similar, where just like the midfield 3 would just be pressing with the legs and running for the team. The fullbacks, Robbo and Trent, would bombard forward from the wide positions, and Mane and Salah would get the goals, with Bobby being the false 9. That was such a classic way of playing under Klopp that we barely changed no matter the opposition. I think Slot is very different to Klopp in that way. I think he has many ideas, and he's going to be extremely versatile and fluid in the way we play, depending on the opposition, depending on the schedule we have in 1 month. I think he's much more of that type of manager that has different ideas and is willing to set up in different ways throughout the season. So I definitely don't think it's like, Dominic Szoboszlai is going to be our false 9 for the whole season, and that's it. That's his idea, and we're going to stick to that. I definitely don't think so. I think he could be like, okay, so when we play a top 3 team in the league, like an Arsenal or City who have more of the ball, I'm going to play Szoboszlai there because he can press them playing out from the back, and we can try to, bring out mistakes out of them and try to score goals through that way. So I think very much Szoboszlai is a potential that we could see, but like I said, I think there's many different ideas that he has ahead of the season, and it's not, like I said, one player fits all type thing. Definitely not. Yo, Manus, nice to see you. Who says, yo, Leo, I just came back from school and I'm not stressed at all about this Vurtz deal. Let's go. I think we'll get this done because Wirtz chose Liverpool. Absolutely. What bid do you think we'll now make? I think we're going to find somewhere in between. My personal prediction is the agreement will be around the 140 million euro mark, because obviously we put in a bid of 130 million euros. They want 150 million euros. They know the player wants to move, so they have to find an agreement. I think we're going to find somewhere in between, which is 140 million euros. And I looked at what the equivalent of that is in pounds, and apparently 140 million euros is around 118 million pounds, which would break the all-time Premier League fee, which before was held by Chelsea, right? They paid 115 million pounds for Moises Caicedo when they signed him from Brighton in that, saga that we were involved with as well. So we'd be paying 3 million pounds more if that happened than the Caicedo deal, and we'd be breaking the all-time record fee. But I think it's going to be somewhere in between. That's my personal prediction. And hopefully we find the agreement there, because like I said, at this point, Leverkusen will have to sell, because their danger is if they continue to play hard to get and Vurtz is unhappy because he wants the Liverpool move, then he could hand in a transfer request, and then that could give more power to Liverpool in the negotiation. So I think Leverkusen have to be a little bit careful here. They're seeing that Liverpool is very serious. Again, if we bid that much in 130 million. So I think right now it's like the smallest of margins for us to find that agreement. And I think it will happen this week. I'm confident of it. Uchiwa says, Slot knows what he's cooking. Let's give him time to gather his ingredients. I love that, because he talked about weapons too. To be honest, moving so fast with 3 players already on verge on signing shows clearly his ambitions. Let's be positive. Absolutely. And they're not like small time players. Like I said, these 3 players in Frimpong, Kerkez, and Vurtz are 3 potential players that could be in our team from week 1, from match day 1 of the Premier League. You know what I mean? So like truly we mean business. This is not like, again, project players. These are players who come in and immediately could be starters. And that says a lot. It really does say a lot. Yo, big up M, who says, I am Makafuda from Jamaica. Love from Jamaica. You'll never walk alone. I gotta show you what I have here. So the music genre I arguably love the most is reggae. And I'm absolutely in love with Burning Spear. He's like in my top 3 favorite artists. Burning Spear. Look at this beautiful collectible magazine that I have here. Thoughts on Aiden Nudi to City? Who got the better left back? I think Kerkez and Aiden Nudi are 2 top left backs. So I think both clubs will be very happy with that transfer business. It's hard to really say who's better. It depends on the system and everything like that. But both are the best young left backs in the league, no doubt about it. So it makes sense. It makes sense that one went to Liverpool and one went to City. You know what I mean? Yo, Damien says, hey from Australia, mate. You'll never walk alone. Nice to see you in the building. What time is it in Australia right now? Vurtz to Liverpool soon. Yes, Thomas Rooney, I hope soon. Soon is what we want. Manu says, what's your opinion on Cunha and Mbeumo signing for United? They're looking to sell Højlund, Onana, and Luke Shaw. I think it's great business from them. Manus, to be fair, I'm not trying to be that salty because obviously they're rivals. I think they're two top players. If we had signed Cunha or Mbeumo, I would have been over the moon over it. When you talk about the actual quality of those players, they're top class. They're some of the best players from last season in the Premier League. So I think it is fantastic signings for United, and it does show how big of a football club United is to be finishing where they finished, to go trophyless, to lose to Spurs in a final, and they can still pull players like that. You have to say fair play, because they would have had a lot of suitors. A lot of teams like the likes of Arsenal would have been interested in those players. I don't think we were, but I think other clubs definitely, and they ended up choosing United. Not to say that United's going to pay them any less or anything like that, but still, it shows. the size of their club. Thaver says, "Hi Leo, how are you? I pray and hope that we get this Vurtz deal soon. You'll never walk alone." Absolutely. 9:20 p.m. 9:20 p.m. Cherki will be too expensive. Instead, let's get Retegui from Atalanta. I haven't watched him enough. The Italian striker. I haven't. Oh God, you were meant to be working on it, Simon. Oh God. Hello from Myanmar. You'll never walk alone. Big up, Lynn in the building. And Boimo took a step back. Yeah. Fee agreed within coming days and medical after Nations League. I hope so. Guys, by the way, let me know. Oh, you love Burning Spear. Oh, I'm in love with Burning Spear. Guys, let me know in the chat if you would tune in if we did a live watch along tomorrow night for the Germany. Who do Germany play again? Yeah, Germany-Portugal game in the semifinals of the Nations League. I really want to watch it, I think, because we can watch Florian Wirtz to see how he does at that top level. So let me know if you tune in, because I would do a live watch along tomorrow night. I believe it's at 8 p.m. UK time, so we can be on Florian Wirtz watch. Let me know, guys. What's your thoughts on Diaz joining Barca? Henry, I don't think they're going to be able to put up the funds. I think we're looking for 80 million minimum. I think there's a bigger chance Lucho ends up going to Saudi. I think there's a bigger chance of that because money is less of a problem for them. Whereas for Barca, it very much seems like it is a problem. You know? Oh God, you're meant to be asleep right now, bro. We're just too excited about this potential Vurtz deal. That's the problem right now. Sunny says, Leo, we're all stressed that he's not coming because we've been let down so many times before. I agree. But Sunny, if we look at all the previous times we've been let down, seriously, all previous times we've been let down, I think there's a big difference maker here. And like I said, it's so clear to see that he's desperate to join Liverpool and that he's rejected other clubs to join Liverpool. That for me is the biggest difference maker. The only one where I can really understand people say having PTSD, this is where I can really understand, is the Fekir deal. Remember when we tried to sign him from Lyon? The one thing that can happen is failing a medical. You just never know with that. Obviously, it's rare within football, but it seems like that's what happened with him. So obviously, I'm not saying it's 100% done, obviously. But for me, where it is very different to the recent PTSD, so let's say the Caicedo, Jude Bellingham, etc. deals, is they hadn't accepted personal terms and said that all they wanted was Liverpool. That's the big difference maker for me. And that's why I'm completely relaxed on the situation. You know what I mean? That's why I think he will end up being a Liverpool player. And I understand that these type of deals don't just happen in a few hours. Like this is, like I said, for Leverkusen, of course they're going to play hardball. Of course they're going to try to pinch every, million that they can out of this deal. Because like I said, they know that a Vurtz type talent isn't going to come around every few years for them. So they have to make the most of this so that they can get their bag and then reinvest it in the squad. It makes sense. You know what I mean? Manu says, will you do another live when we throw our improved bid on Vurtz and if they accept or not? Yes, Manus, I will. Absolutely, I will. Especially because I'm here this week, so absolutely I will. What do you think about Pep Linders joining City? Uchiwa, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not a huge fan of it just because, he spent 10 years at Liverpool Football Club. He said that he couldn't imagine, and I understand things in life can change. Of course they can. Just like Trent said, his all-time dream was just to be at Liverpool and be captain, and that dream changed for him. Now he's at Madrid. But what just I find strange about Pep Linders, he says he wouldn't be a number 2 again after being a number 2 for Klopp so many years. So when I say number 2, I mean like assistant manager. And now he's accepted to be assistant manager for our direct rivals, I think our biggest rivals in England the last 10 years. So what I just don't like is now Pep Linders, his main goal will literally be to try to have an edge over Liverpool. He's going to be studying us, the way we play under Slot, and trying to find an edge so that when, we go head to head for the title again, which is definitely what City will be looking for next season, he's going to be a major part of that behind the scenes to try to find the answers to get that title back from Liverpool, So I'm not a fan of that, but at the same time, it is a job and he's probably getting paid a lot and he gets to learn from Pep Guardiola. So obviously when you bring emotion aside and everything, it makes sense that, like, imagine he gets to say that he's been an assistant manager for Pep Guardiola and Klopp. It doesn't get much better than that. So he'll obviously learn a ton. And like I said, the salary, he'll definitely have a top salary. So from a professional standpoint, again, you take emotion aside, it makes sense, so just like the Trent one, it does make sense. Again, if I take all emotion aside and you're strictly treating football like a pure job, just like many people work 9 to 5s and it's just corporate and they're not going to have that much loyalty to their, business, let's just say. I think this is probably pretty similar if you compare it like that. Like for Trent, he gets to live in Madrid, he gets to move to a new country, he gets to increase his brand, probably be on higher wages because of tax reasons and everything like that. So, yeah, again, when you talk purely business, job, employee type thing, it makes sense. You know what I mean? Yo, Session, nice to see you in the building. Do you watch IPL? No. Top 3 signings that were made in the Klopp era. That's too difficult. There's too many incredible signings. But what I will say is it just shows to win major titles, you need world-class players in defensive positions, because we were incredible going forward for many years when we had the likes of Torres, Suarez, Salah, Firmino, Mane, all that. And I think the moment we truly looked like we were going to win a Champions League or win a Premier League was the moment we got Alisson Becker and Virgil van Dijk and Fabinho. Those 3, not to say they're the most 3 important ones, because obviously Salah was world-class, Mane was world-class, Bobby was world-class. But I mean more, it just shows you can have the best attack, but if you're really poor defensively, I don't think you can win the biggest trophies. And I think that was proof when Fabinho, Alisson, and Virgil came in. It took us to that next level, and that's the defensive stability. Yo, Go12, nice to see you in the building. He says, how are we? What's happening with the Vurtz deal? Also love the new sticker. Yeah, guys, for all the members in the building, we just added a new sticker today. You can spam it in the building right now. It's, of course, a Jeremy Frimpong, our first official signing in the summer. We had to add him in. Agraval says, do you think, bro, we might end up with Watkins? I can't see that. I know we need more homegrown players, but remember, Frimpong is a homegrown player. So that's another bonus, another nice thing about the Jeremy Frimpong signing is he counts as a homegrown player. But yeah, we'll see. Like you said, it depends if Harvey, Gomez, they leave. We'll have to see. We will have to see. But I don't see us signing Watkins, I gotta say, because I'm not so sure how much of an upgrade he is on our current strikers. I'm not so sure. And his age, he's 29, so it's not the type of age bracket that we go for. Yeah, Babat, bro, if that happens, if we sign Vurtz and Kirkez and someone like Rodrigo and keep all our key players, yeah, we would be forced to another level next season, no doubt about it. Big up, Henry, I appreciate you. Sending my love back to Australia. You'll never walk alone. Someone Cherki meeting Vurtz at Liverpool. Is it true? No, Joe, the reason why Slot flew to meet with Ryan Cherki is just we wanted to have a plan B for in case we couldn't get Vurtz. It's normal. With any deal, you want to have a plan B just in case. But now it seems like since we got the green light for Vurtz and we're so advanced in the negotiations, I think Cherki will end up going to City and we'll end up getting Vurtz because, again, of the development in the last week and how much we're advancing on it. We're really advancing on it, Are you going to do watch-alongs? Yes, Miez, I promise I'll do watch-alongs for the Germany-Portugal game and the Spain-France game the next day because a lot of you guys were asking for it and I want to watch those games. So, yeah, guys, I promise, Space, I will be live the next 2 nights because there's the Nations League semifinals and tomorrow night Vurtz watch. And then Thursday night we'll be on Ibukunate watch, I guess. No, Kumar. I mean, I've heard the name, Virat Kohli, but I haven't watched. No. So, yeah, Garvey, your record could be broken on Wednesday or Thursday night just because you never know. There could be additional time. I'm not sure how it works actually in Nations League. Leo, Mike? Let me see. That should be all good. Let me know if it's fixed. Mike should be all good. Let me know if that's all fixed. That should be all good. Let me know if it's fixed. Mine should be all good. Yeah, so Leo, why can we just give Leverkusen a player like Elliot or Kwanzaa? So, swap deals like that are very difficult. That's why they rarely happen in football. Leverkusen, first off, would want, like, the reason why it's difficult is A, Leverkusen need to actually want a Harvey Elliott or a Kwanzaa. Maybe they're not interested. B, Harvey Elliott or Kwanzaa need to want that move. And then C, they also need to agree on the actual how they fit into that team. Because let's say maybe they're interested in Harvey, but he's not going to be a key player, then they're not going to find an agreement on that. So usually swap deals are very difficult because on many different levels, everybody has to be happy, and that rarely happens. But you never know. You never know. You never know. Fabinho was a beast. He was everywhere with the tackles and winning the ball back with Hendo. Absolutely. But our system back then was so different. Was so different before. Tutor says, new here. I'm confused. Why do you have an American accent? So I lived 11 years in New York, but I'm not American. I'm half French, half Icelandic. But when I was little, my parents basically opened a shop they were working in fashion. They opened a shop in New York. So I moved there, obviously, with them. I was a kid. And I was brought up in the school system in America, in New York. But, the moment I became an adult myself, I came back to Europe because I'm European. You know what I mean? So I was only really there for my education. Yo, Gamer72, nice to see you in the building. What's good? What do you think about potentially signing Osimhen? It seems like he's off to Saudi, but no, I don't think we were ever in the race for Osimhen. I don't think we're trying to find a goal scorer who's also African, because then we would lose Salah and that other attacker during the AFCON. So I don't see that happening. Yes, you tutors in Lille, yeah, in France. How did you know I lived in Lille? Is the Hugo Ekitike rumors dead now? It seems like Chelsea are pushing hard for him, so I think he'll end up at Chelsea. The fact that they're willing to spend big money on him, I think that's going to happen for them. Hey, Leo, when will we make a third bid? I think we're going to wait for the third bid to be the one to be accepted. We're probably not officially going to make that bid, but right now we're in direct contact with Leverkusen, so we're probably just, like I said, putting in the final details. We're just putting in the final details. Yo, shoot. What's good? Nice to see you in the building. What's good? Let me see. You guys are saying... Guys, let me know. Yeah, that should be better. That should be better. Yeah, there can't be any delay. Is Joe Gomez in the sold... Is the Gomez in the sold list this summer? Gomez is the same thing as a Harvey Elliott, or the same thing as a... What's another player? Probably like a Jota or a Lucho. I would put Joe Gomez, Harvey Elliott, Lucho, and Jota in the same brackets. I think we would be open to selling them this summer. I think we would be, but only if the right bid came in. I think that's the same scenario for those type of players. Oh yeah, you saw the Mbappe videos. That's sick. You tutors, yeah, on the John Nellis channel. Yeah, exactly. What do you think? Will any Liverpool player win the Ballon d'Or next season? Unlikely. But if anyone, it's going to be either Florian Wirtz if he joins or Mohamed Salah. Those are the ones that have the ceiling. And the Ballon d'Or usually always gets given to attackers usually. Let's be real. Do you see Gehi? I could see if Gehi's looking to leave Crystal Palace, I could see us being in the mix. We were talking about homegrown players before. He could be that type of English player we sign if, let's say, Joe Gomez leaves in the summer. I could see that happening. And he would be more of a squad player. I could see that happening. Yo, Jordan, nice to see you in the building. What's good? If we don't get Vurtz, who do you think we should go for? Maybe someone like Xavi Simons. Or we go back in for Narain Cherki and try to hijack. But for me, that's not even an option. We're going all in for Vurtz, so I back us to get it done. It's going on for too long, yeah. But Benz, it's normal when it's big deals like that. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. You tutors. Are you based in France, by the way? Or no? What are your thoughts on Julio and Alvarez? We could sign him. Henry, he's my dream, but there's no chance he leaves Atletico this summer. The president came out and said he's not for sale for any price, just the same as Newcastle. Neither of these teams are in financial difficulties, and their futures or next season is looking bright for both of those teams. So there's no reason for those teams to sell unless players forced to move, and neither look like they're forcing a move. So both are impossible. Oh yeah, no, you tutors. I went to an American university in New York for university. So I ended up staying till I was like 21 years old. I was living in New York basically till then. This first deal looks very close. It's just about the add-ons now. When do you think we'll get the Here We Go? I think this week, bro. I think this week because like you said, it's only now about negotiating on those final add-ons. And then we have the Here We Go. So it's that freaking close. It really is that close. Felix, I'm very confident personally. I'm very confident. What if Leverkusen doesn't accept Liverpool's bid? I don't think that's going to happen, Space, because Vurtz really wants the Liverpool move. So what could end up happening if Leverkusen play too hard ball and they make it impossible for us to agree a deal, then if Liverpool pulls out, then there's a risk for Leverkusen that Vurtz is unhappy and he hands in a transfer request, which gives Liverpool more power in the negotiations. And that's why, again, I'm confident of it happening, because from the Leverkusen point of view, I don't think it's smart to make it impossible for this deal to get done, because like I said, then you have a very unhappy Vurtz, and then he could give more power to Liverpool in the negotiations. You know? Thank you, FC FIFA. This is the OG background, but I'm moving in September. In September, I'm moving. And when I move, I'm going to have to redo the whole background. But it'll be an exciting project to redo the new background. I'm looking forward to it. But that's in September, so it's not for a while. Diaz is looking like he's going to, only if a big bid comes in. Only if a big bid comes in. Same thing with Kwanzaa. Same thing with Joe Gomez. We would only let him go for the right price. Yes, Maximilian, I love reggae too. Frimpong was Friday. Vurtz Wednesday has a nice ring to it. Oh my God, please. I'm moving to a different place in Lille. To an apartment in Lille. In the north of France. But a place I'm planning on staying in for a long while to settle. Moving out the country? No, in France. In France. I love France too much. I love living here. Yeah, go 12. If Lucho ends up leaving, I could see us going big for Rodrigo, because we wouldn't let him go unless big money came in for Lucho. Otherwise, I definitely think we want to keep him because he was outstanding this season. Charlotte says, I thought you were in Paris. Yeah, right now I'm in Paris because I lost my previous apartment in Lille, but otherwise I'm living in Lille. So it's just a transition period right now. And then I'm going to be back in Lille in September, like I said. So I'm just in transition period, basically, because of the apartment that I no longer had. George says, love France too much, but doesn't support a French football team. No, because I didn't grow up in France. So it's normal. I feel like you fall in love with a football team when you're a kid. And I was growing up in Iceland. And in Iceland, there was no professional team, really. You know, a lot of the players are amateur. Even the best team in Iceland, a lot of the players are amateur. So when I was in Iceland, that's when I fell in love with Liverpool. You know, I didn't start supporting football. I moved to France, I think 3 to 4 years ago. That's not when I started watching football. I was watching when I was a kid, little kid. And I'm not the type to switch football clubs. Nah, you tutors, I don't have a bad feeling because, like I said, it's not in the best interest of Leverkusen to not accept the next bid. Because, like I said, if they don't accept the next bid, then I think Vurtz won't be happy and he could hand in a transfer request and make things a lot more difficult. I don't see that happening. Hydrate for Florian? Okay, guys, I'm going to hydrate for Vurtz Wednesday. Okay, that's what I'm hydrating for because there's a nice ring to it. That's what I want to hydrate for. Van de Ven is a player we should be looking at. I would love him. But I don't think Spurs would sell unless it was big, big money. Rodrigo said he wants to stay at Madrid. Did he say that now? Because at one point he said he wanted to leave. What about Gordon if Lucho leaves? Christian, I would love Gordon. I would take that. I would take that. And Gordon is another one of those attackers who's versatile, which I love. He's looked very good on the right wing for Newcastle as well. Obviously, he's a natural left winger, but I think he's a player who can really perform well on the left and on the right. So, yo, Dalo, Mr. Star, nice to see you in the building, and I think he has a high ceiling. He's 24 years old. I think he could elevate his game if he came to Liverpool because he also loves Liverpool and he kind of fits the mentality and the work rate of a Liverpool player. So I would absolutely love Gordon, but again, the difficulty is that Newcastle won't want to sell, so they can play hardball with us. So he'd probably cost a lot of money. Biryani Boy says, do you do YouTube/social media full time or do you also have a job outside of YouTube, Leo? Just wanted to know. It's okay if you want to keep it private. Nah, I think it's good to talk about these things because I know not many people openly talk about it, but basically Biryani. But a big reason why I am able to do it full time is because the last few years I've been living at home as well with my family. So it's not like paying a rent in a city, as you know, which is so expensive. So one of the reasons I have been able to make it happen is because I just have a lot less expenses. So if I did live on my own in Paris, I think it would be difficult, you know? So, but now eventually I've been able to save up basically for years to be able to move on my own. And from September, I'm really going to move on my own and be completely, you know, independent type of thing. So it did take years where, like I said, I was saving up as well. So yeah, it's not that easy to make it full time type of thing, you know. So I do think it's important to just openly talk about it as well. But yeah. What do you think about the Hansi Flick talks with Kingsley Coman? I could see that happening because it seems like Bayern are open to selling him this summer. He's obviously worked with them before. And if I remember right, Kingsley Coman was very good under Hansi Flick when he was the Bayern manager. So they obviously know each other well. I could see that happening. He's another attacker that I think is pretty versatile. He can play on the right and on the left. I could see that happening. If they don't end up going for Lucho. And probably, like I said, I think Lucho will end up being too expensive for them. That's what I think. I'm based in the UK, close to London. I lived in Paris for 2 years and didn't have a good time. Why didn't you have a good time? It is kind of a difficult city to settle into because, yeah, it's hard. I think it's a difficult city to move to, from what I've heard. But why for you did you not have a good time? Manu says, if we really get the Vurtz deal done, then it's 50-50. If we really need a stick or two, because Gakpo, Sobo, and Jota can play there. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Charlotte says, that's huge, Leo. I live with friends because London is so expensive. Many of my friends live with their boyfriends because of the cost. Congrats on moving out on your own. That's huge at our age. Yes, thank you very much. But yeah, like I said, it's been years where I was living, but I'm so lucky where I'm really close to my parents and I really, really love my parents. So it's been, I've felt so blessed to live with them too, you know, because they've been so welcoming. Even, you know, with my age and everything. So I've been blessed, but still being independent and living with your parents, no matter how much you love your parents, there's a big difference between the two, as many of you guys probably know that have made that switch, you know? So yeah, it's huge, but you living with your friends, that's awesome. But that's what I've heard about London as well. London is so expensive that even people who are like, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 are living with a bunch of roommates because it's just such an expensive city. It is such an expensive city. We submitted 130 million that got rejected. Yeah, just memes. It's that was the other day. Kevin, I'm 25. Have I seen the Gakpo Bayern Munich news? Bro, it's the same thing where the only way I could see that happening is they put in a massive bid. And they rarely do that. So I don't see Gakpo going to Bayern. I think he's going to stay at Liverpool. And Slot clearly really does rate him, you know. Manus, I would only sell Gomez again if a really decent bid came in for him this summer. Because I do think he deserves. He's been an incredible, loyal servant for us. Obviously, our longest serving player. But let's be real. He's at this stage, he's just going to be a squad player for us. So if he gets an opportunity to go to a team where he can be a starter week in, week out, then I would want that for him, you know? And if we can get a decent fee, then I think it's fantastic for us as well. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it all depends on the type of money and the type of role that he would get. It all depends on that. YouTuber says, I studied a business school and lived in the city, and it says yeah, 105 students were French speaking out of 120. They weren't inclusive, even if you spoke good French. It's just a Parisian thing, yeah. That's one of the reasons why I'm moving, honestly. Like, I think Paris is one of the most beautiful cities, and there's so many incredible neighborhoods. By the way, the 16th, I don't really like you tutors. There's so many better neighborhoods, I think. But yeah, what I love about Lille is people are so much more open. You know, I would compare it almost to like a London and Liverpool. In London, I feel like because it's such a big and fast moving city, it's hard for people to really be that welcoming or that nice because everybody's just like moving at 1,000, you know, like so fast. And in other cities, or especially in the north, I feel like people are a lot more open, and I just like open energy. And that's the main reason why I fell in love with Lille and why I want to be there, you know. Jaden from Australia, nice to see you in the building. What's good? What's the German match Dutch time? Mika, 9 p.m. because it's 8 p.m. UK time. So I'll be live around 9 p.m. At night tomorrow, so we can do a watch along for that game. Yo, Jaden, nice to see you from Australia. Manchester is blue. Well, in the last 10 years, you can definitely say Manchester is more blue than red. That's for sure. I only lived in the 16th because it was close to where I studied. But before I started off in the 6th, but it was so far I had to travel. Oh, yeah. If you could choose one player in the world to sign this window, who would it be? Midnight. If you're saying unrealistic, then I would say Isaac or Alvarez. But if you're saying realistic, then it is Florian Wirtz because clearly he is a possibility. Farhan says Luka Modric is expected to go to AC Milan. I saw those rumors yesterday. I don't understand why AC Milan is replacing Reinders with their young talent with a 40-year-old bro, because Luka Modric can still perform at an incredible level. So I think it's for in the short term until they find that replacement, I don't think it's such a bad move. And imagine how much media attention it's going to bring them too, because Luka Modric, right, Ballon d'Or winner, so many fans around the world love him. So it'll bring a lot of attention to AC Milan as well, because he's a big time player. Big up, hey Leo, I'm Ahmed from Libya and I'm a big Liverpool fan. I wanted to know if you think Gravenberch is a top 3 midfielder in the world. So if I was saying, I don't think he's top 3 midfielder in the world. But I think he has the ceiling to be that. You know, like for example, I think Maka is closer to being a top 3 midfielder than Gravenberch. And not to say Gravenberch had a bad season. He was incredible and a key part of us winning the Premier League. But for me, Maka was our midfielder of the season because he was just so consistent and you just know exactly where you're going to get out of him. And I think no matter what position, he performs for you. So yeah, I would say Maka is closer to that. But if I had to say top 3, I would probably say Pedri. It's tough. Guys, what would you say for top 3 midfielders? I think Maka is close to that bracket, honestly. I really think so. Is Mamardashvili coming back from loan? Yes, he's coming back from the loan. And he's going to fight to be number 1. That's what he said. That's his goal. Is it still possible for Salah to win the Ballon d'Or? Very unlikely, unfortunately. Very unlikely. Now I think he's 5th or 6th favorite. What do you think about Vurtz wanting the number 10 shirt? You tutors, I'm fine with it because I'm sure that if we spoke internally to him about that and it was a desire, then we would have spoken to Maka too and he would have given his approval. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Oh, Vitinha after this season. How could I forget Vitinha? I think when Rodri is fit, Rodri has to be in the top 3 and Pedri has to be in the top 3. And I think Vitinha, based off of this season, you have to put him in. He's Did you see the way he played in that final? I think you'd have to say Vitinha, Rodri, and Pedri. Damn, 2 Spaniards. FC FIFA says for me, Pedri, Vitinha, Maka. Yeah, maybe if you just say off of this season then. But otherwise, Rodri has to be, obviously. Once he's back next season, we're going to see the levels. He's going to improve City drastically again. Valverde is incredible too, bro. Yeah, Vitinha after this season deserves the praises. Deserves the praise 100%. TaylorMade says Cherki is not on Vurtz level on and off the ball. Exactly. That's why when people are saying, oh, we're spending way too much on Florian Vurtz, let's just go for Cherki and put the money in other places. Bro, I don't think that's a fair argument, because then if we're talking about, like I said, a project player who needs time to develop and everything, then I'd rather we just give the opportunity to Harvey Elliott. He loves the club, you know? Whereas Vurtz, like you said, he comes in and he's already elite. So he just... I haven't seen... The fixtures haven't been released yet for next season. Do you think we'll sign Rodrigo Yeah, Henry, I think if Lucho ends up leaving, I could see us signing either Gordon or Rodrigo as a replacement. Oh, Thiago was incredible, but he could never stay fit, unfortunately, for long enough. Do you think there's any chance that the same thing happens with... No, Mohammed, because it's so different. It's so different. Caicedo never agreed personal terms with Liverpool. You realize how different that is, Patel? He never agreed personal terms with Liverpool. So I think it's drastically different, the two situations. Rima, I completely agree. I'm confident we're going to get Vurtz. And I agree he's in that elite bracket. And Cherki is not in that elite bracket, even though I would be excited about us signing Cherki. But I wouldn't expect world-class levels from him. Whereas Vurtz, I would expect world-class levels from what I've seen. Charlotte says, fun fact, the company who runs the algorithm for the Premier League fixtures is a client of mine. So I'm going to learn some of them in advance this year. No way. You gotta let me know. You gotta let me know. And then I could make an we could do an exclusive. So it's some like algorithm, like some tech, right? That would be doing that. We agreed the personal terms. It was just a fee. Nah, with the Caicedo situation, we were willing to pay the same fee as Chelsea, but Chelsea he had already agreed to go to Chelsea, so it's very different. Vurtz is in the tier of Bellingham and Musiala, completely. I mean, I just think back to the Euros when I was watching Germany, and I was in awe of watching Florian Vurtz, and I couldn't believe he was performing on those levels after the serious injury he had picked up. But he is... Like that, for me, the best memories I have of Vurtz, obviously because I don't watch that much of the Bundesliga, was him at the Euros. I thought he was crazy. Crazy. Exactly, Farhan. But what I just find crazy is people find a way to complain. People obviously complain all the time that we don't spend enough. And now that we're willing to spend big on a player, people are saying we're spending too much. So it's just like, it's crazy to me. Like, when will people ever be happy? Like, here we're spending too much on a player and then we're spending not enough. Like, I don't understand it. I'm never going to be that type of complainer, because it's just not worth it to be living that way, you know? I think Harvey Elliott will end up leaving, especially if Vurtz comes in, which I expect to happen. So I think Harvey, unfortunately, will definitely be leaving this summer. I just wonder for what club, and because we're going to be holding out for big money. I don't think we'll want to sell for less than 40 million. I definitely don't think so. Who do you think is winning, France or Spain? I got to go for my country. I got to go for France. I got to back my nation. Vurtz to Bayern, here we go. No way, Jose. That ain't happening. He already said no. Ahmed says, if the Ballon d'Or was awarded today, who would you give it to? I would give it to Lamine Yamal. But it all depends on this week. When is the France versus Spurs game? Spurs, what am I saying? France versus Spain game. Henry, I'll be live for that. It's on Thursday at 8 p.m. UK time. 8 p.m. UK time. Big up Tacos. Thank you very much for the super chat. It says, hi Leo, I really enjoy your content. Can you make a quick trip to Paris? I'm already in Paris right now. And kidnap Barcola for us. You'll never walk alone. Which 9 would be your first choice? I mean, I said it before, Alvarez is my dream, but he's not leaving Atletico, so it's not realistic. Apart from that, who's my dream? No one stands out in the market. No one. And that's why I think we're going big on Vurtz, because he's going to bring us goals. He's going to be lethal in the final third so that we don't have to be so dependent on the striker putting up big numbers, you know? That's why I think we're going so big on Vurtz. So I don't really know about a 9. Like I said, the options I've looked at, nobody I'm really that convinced by. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that one, but like I said, that's why I'm even more excited about the Wirtz deal, because I think he's gonna bring us a whole lot. Are you okay in Paris? I saw all this stuff in the news. Yeah, it's terrible, but that's why I barely went out after PSG won, because I knew bad things could happen, you know, because unfortunately what ends up happening, by the way, for those of you that don't know, there were over 195 people injured after PSG won the Champions League. And 4 deaths now it's been announced after everything, which is crazy. But just so you know, a lot of what happened there with the violence is not actually related to football fans. Basically, there are people in the surrounding areas of Paris that take the occasion, because they know it's going to be hectic because so many people are celebrating in the city. They take the opportunity to break stores, to steal, to do lots of bad, violent things in that moment, because they know it's chaos in the city. So it's more difficult for the police to take care of those scenarios. So it's kind of like they know it's their opportunity to just cause havoc and do bad things, unfortunately. So it's not even related to football fans. It really is like just bad people that take the occasion, basically. And that's what I mean, Charlotte. It's not related to hooliganism. It's not, because it's, when you look at the situations from what I've seen, it's just bad people that take this chance, because like I said, it's just a hectic moment in the city. So it's not hooliganism. It's separate to that. Did the Eiffel Tower get damaged? No. Yeah, they are great. They are. Indeed. Do you think we'll go for a signing after Frimpong, Kirkez, and Wirtz? Definitely. But I think before then, we'll probably I think we'll sell a lot of players first. Like I said, the future is in doubt for a lot of players, like Costas, like Harvey Elliott, like Darwin Núñez. There's a lot of players that I think will move this summer, and I think we'll probably be more focused, hopefully once we get the first 3 in, on outgoings. And then we can see how we dip back into the market. What will happen to Szoboszlai? His position will be taken by a world-class cam. Felix, we're going to find a way to fit him in. Don't you worry about that. There's lots of positions he can occupy. And I think he'd be fantastic as one of the holding mids, for example. Absolutely fantastic. Henry says, if Liverpool had unlimited funds to sign one player, I would go for Lamine Yamal. Bro, he's look at his age and what he's doing. If you're talking about unlimited, and I would just go for that, because then one of the best players in the world you could have for God knows how many years. Was looking for you at the parade. My memories. Hopefully there's another parade this year. Yo, Leo, already in June, watching Star Wars. Frimpong is a red. Oh, yes. Love seeing you using the new emoji. Let's go. Thank you, TJ Loves TNT. Big up to you. Big up to you. Do you want to do content creation within football? What's your dream within content creation? Farhan says, if you could pick any DM center mid, who would you go for in the market? If you're saying it could be anyone, and again, it's not realistic, I would go for Pedri or Rodri. One of the two. Pedri or Rodri. Because for me, they're the two best. Or Vitinha. Or Vurtz. Any of those four. Any of those four. All right, you guys. Unfortunately, this is going to be the end of this live stream, but I have a strong feeling that there's going to be more to come very, very soon. Like I said, I promise now, because I saw you guys would tune in and you'd be interested. So tomorrow night is going to be the Germany game. I'll be live for that. And then Thursday, the other semifinal of the Nations League, France-Spain. So both should be great games with so much talent for us to watch. And we'll be on Vurtz Watch tomorrow, that's for sure. But yeah, you guys, hopefully, I have a good feeling that before then, there could be a breaking news that we could speak about. And hopefully it's related to Vurtz. Hopefully it's the final bid that we put in. But yeah, you guys, there's a lot more to come. But stay calm, guys. Stay patient. Because we mean business this window. And I'm still very confident, so you guys should be confident too. But yeah, guys, I appreciate all of you. Ahmed, thank you very much for your kind message, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Up the Reds. Here's to getting the Kirkaz and Wirtz deals done this week. Come on. You'll never walk alone, guys. All the best. Ciao, guys.